Now at 4, fighting the flu. Reaction from a central Indiana hospital as cases and concerns continue to climb.
And we're still stuck in the 30s, but we are expecting some clearing tonight. Will that mean sunshine for your Friday? I'll have your forecast.
And resisting the KKK, the new exhibit on a dark side of Indiana history and how communities rallied against it. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
Good afternoon to you on this Thursday. We start this afternoon with local hospitals. They are feeling the weight of increasing flu cases here in central Indiana, something so many families are dealing with right now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dustin Grove.
And I'm Felicia Lawrence. Our Samantha Johnson visited a local ER today and talked to workers there who say they are struggling to keep up.
Nurses inside the Johnson Memorial Health Emergency Department are busy.
So we are seeing absolutely an increase in our patient volumes.
Mostly flu and RSV, but COVID too.
Difficulty breathing, cough, fever has been very, very prevalent.
Katie Howe is the department's clinical nurse manager. She says patients of all ages are coming in with the flu.
I will say that our young pediatric patients and our elderly are not tolerating it as well.
And to make matters worse, Johnson Memorial is seeing 5 times the amount of patients compared to this time last year testing positive for influenza A. Howe says beds are filling up and patients are staying in the ER longer.
You know, it's been tough because it impacts our staff as well. We've had a lot of healthcare workers, they're ill as well. And so those staffing challenges can pose a bit of a problem.
Take a look at this map from the CDC. It shows the rise in influenza-like illness since October. That's defined as a fever of 100 degrees or higher and a cough or sore throat. The darker the shade, the worse it is. Indiana sitting in the high category for more than 5 weeks.
We're masking when we're going in those patients' rooms with respiratory symptoms.
Howe says her staff is doing everything it can to stay safe, but she says we can help too by washing our hands and staying home when we're sick. In Johnson County, Samantha Johnson, 13 News.
Other news this afternoon, a 2-month-old baby is dead and her father and 3-year-old brother both in the hospital after a police chase in Plainfield ended in a crash. This all happened around 9:15 yesterday morning. Jack Bauder says her fiance, Shadow Moore, was taking their kids to their grandparents' house when that crash happened. Plainfield police tell us an Avon officer tried to stop a car near US 40 and Ronald Reagan Parkway. The driver, though, kept going and then crashed into Moore's car, which rolled and caught fire. The little boy has burns over 60% of his body. Moore has some broken ribs and a laceration to his spleen. The other driver is in custody. We're working right now to confirm his name and what charges he may be facing. In Indianapolis today, Metro Police say somebody rammed a car into a smoke shop and then stole a bunch of items. You can see some of the damage to the store in that video there. It happened early this morning near Madison and Edgewood Avenues. Metro Police say there were several people inside the vehicle at the time. The car backed up and drove away. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers.
All right, well, we are seeing cooler temperatures and visibly the day looks different. It is much grayer than what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks.
Still wait for sunshine, Rob.
I think you'll get some clearing tonight, and
Okay.
that means that by tomorrow morning, sunshine is certainly going to be a part of the forecast. So we'll look good. Temperature's not going to move much, though, compared to that. So we're in the 30s now. I think we're going to be in the 30s tomorrow, 30s the day after that. 30s the day after that. You see where I'm going with this. We're kind of stuck in the 30s.
Are you saying there'll be 30s?
Yes, it's like me lying about my age. Still in the 30s, as long as you can go. Look, we're into the 30s right now. 36 for Indy, 34 for Lebanon. We're talking about temperatures cooling down a bit tonight because we do expect that as we clear some of the skies, and I do expect we will clear some of the skies, that we expect the temperatures to be able to drop. The clearing skies, no blanket of clouds to keep the temperatures warm overnight. So I do expect 20s to be in the forecast for the overnight. After that, I think we'll try to see the temperatures rebound tomorrow, but maybe getting up to near 40 degrees. There may be some 40s farther to the south, just like there are today. The sunshine's going to help, but a north wind may have to have a north component to the forecast. So maybe some clearing over the next few hours. I'm not super optimistic about it, but I'm hoping we see a couple of peaks of sunshine just before the sun goes down. Temperatures tonight expected to go into the 20s, and then tomorrow expecting to see that sunshine, especially the early part of the day. And there's that north wind that I mentioned. It's going to really counter the sunshine. So as much as the sunshine will try to warm us up early in the morning, the north winds will drop those temperatures back down. And then maybe some clouds building again as we get into the afternoon. We should be able to make it into the upper 30s for most of you. Farther to the south, maybe even some 40s. After that, though, we do have some rain that's going to be arriving as we look to our Saturday forecast, and maybe even a little wintry precipitation. Coming up, I'll talk a little bit more about what we can expect for your Saturday. If you do have plans for Saturday, you're going to want to pay attention to that part of the forecast. Very quickly, let's take a look at some of the highways and byways around central Indiana. We're looking okay. Lots of green on the map. That's good. The typical slow points. We only have one accident on the board currently. This is closer to the airport on 465. This is southbound. Looks like emergency vehicle and Hoosier helper are on the scene. Doesn't look to be impeding traffic at the moment, but of course, make sure you give them an extra lane of area to work so that we can be safe. And then otherwise, looking at 70 as we approach the city, overall looking pretty good. Lots of volume starting to pick up, but traffic seems to be moving nicely. Will likely continue. We're starting to see those slowdowns in the typical locations, 65 southbound and also 465 on the northeast side of town. Guys?
All right, latest from Washington today. After heavy criticism at home and around the world, the White House is walking back President Trump's proposal that the U.S. would take over the Gaza Strip.
As Alice Barr shows us, the Trump administration's plan to cut federal aid and the federal workforce are also under fire.
Fighting back against.
From the Senate floor.
We need to be furious. We need to be alarmed.
To the streets. Protest to President Trump's policies is growing louder. And now, in response to a lawsuit over federal privacy laws, the administration is agreeing to some guardrails on Elon Musk's power, temporarily blocking staffers with his cost-cutting Department of Government efficiency from accessing Treasury payment systems. Musk's team is working to shrink the federal workforce, offering widespread buyouts. The National Security Agency, the latest joining the list overnight. Democrats warning of risks.
For the people who are taking potentially Trump's illegal buyout offer, which there is no funding for at all, to think twice.
Republicans defending Musk's work.
I call it stewardship. I think they're doing right by the American taxpayer.
Meanwhile, less than a day after the administration started walking back parts of President Trump's controversial comments on the U.S. taking ownership of the Gaza Strip and not ruling out sending U.S. troops.
Everybody loves it, but this is just not the right time. But we'll maybe do something later.
The president this morning on social media saying Gaza would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting, with Palestinians resettled in safer communities and no U.S. soldiers needed. Arab countries, the president wants to take in displaced Palestinians, and lawmakers in both parties pushed back on his proposed redevelopment of the war-ravaged territory. The White House clarified the U.S. would not pay to redevelop Gaza. President Trump speaking today at the National Prayer Breakfast before meeting with congressional Republicans about a looming fight over the federal budget. With the government set to run out of money next month, Democrats are vowing to use that moment to leverage whatever power they have. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
In this Black History Month, we are taking a step back in time in Indiana's history. A new traveling exhibit is on display at the Indy Public Library, and it is called Resist. It chronicles the Ku Klux Klan's rise to power, and it also features how people resisted and raised questions about how to combat hate. So it recounts the events at the University of Notre Dame in 1924. The KKK wanted to bring a picnic and parade to their town. Students and community members fought back.
The idea of resisting, letting things happen that you don't think should be happening. Of course, there was some violence involved and other things, and you'll learn a lot about that in the exhibit. But that idea of you have the ability to resist hate, and how have people in the past gone about doing that, and how could you do it in the future?
So this exhibit is on display until March 25th, and there will be a host of presentations, discussions, and exhibits exploring the lives, legacies, and impact of those involved in this historic event. We are going to place some of that for you on our website at WTHR.com.
It was a large resistance movement in South Bend in that particular event in 1924. It wasn't just community members and students, but it was the Notre Dame football team. And legend has it that that's actually how they got their name, the Fighting Irish, by fighting back and kicking out the Klan.
That is news to me.
Yeah, really interesting story. Look
Very
forward to that
interesting.
exhibit too.
Well, you know, and sometimes history can be uncomfortable. It's not a story that you necessarily want to highlight when we talk about celebrating history. But it's not just Black history; it's American history. It's part of Indiana's history and story. And they always say it's cliche, but you have to know where you've been to know where you're going.
It's a dark chapter, but one that we have to read.
Yeah.
All right.
And on to more news. Another shakeup for federal workers. The group President Trump now wants to put on paid administrative leave.
And a series of storms set to swarm the eastern half of the U.S. We're going to show you the impact already being felt in several of those states. We'll be right back.